What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the 1/4 Careers Podcast. I'm Xavier, your host, and I'm here with Torrance. Torrance graduated from AlabamaA&Muniversity with a Bachelor of Science in Supply Chain Management in 2021. Now, Torrance works as a Senior Manager of Programs and Business Systems at Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Shout out TMCF. Welcome to the pod, my guy. Appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you, man. How your summer going so far? I know you
Busy. If I could just make it through July, I think life would be better. But right now we on the road, so
Then you're gonna be saying about August, ain't it?
probably
Taking it 1 month at a time for
1
real.
month at a time.
Man, well, this was super exciting for me because I know you had mentioned on the side that you hadn't watched a couple other videos yet, but I know you're gonna tap in. But I was talking to Chris, he was the special education episode, and we had to plug in TMCF. So I'm excited for you to watch that one because he had a message specifically for you. So you gotta go tap in for that. But yeah, man, this is super exciting. The fact that you work at TMCF. Felt like it was really appropriate for you to do that after undergrad, just from what I know about you. But working at TMCF, man, me knowing a little bit of your journey professionally, can you talk a little bit about your background and just like share whatever you feel is most relevant? Because I'm curious to see kind of how you kind of go over some of that.
Yeah. I'll just kind of start it here. I'm a college graduate that never planned to go to college, right? So
Yeah.
I my journey is pretty wild, considering, and I kind of look back and think like, wow, I've done a lot. But considering that I never planned to go to college in the first place, just going and ending up where I am now is I'm excited for myself, and I know sometimes we don't be excited for ourselves, but I'm excited for myself and like all the good things and fun things that I get to do, just because I made a choice.
No, for sure, bro. For sure. I appreciate you sharing that, man. So working at TMCF, being a senior manager, like, these aren't small things, you feel me? So like, I'm also excited for you and the things you have going on. But in your role, what is that like working at TMCF? How would you describe roles, responsibilities, any of that?
It's always the most interesting question to answer because every time somebody asks me what I do, I'm like, I don't know.
Nah,
But it's just simply because like we don't have, I guess, what you call typical jobs, right? So I work at a nonprofit. I don't work at a nonprofit where, it's one person doing everything, but you still have a lot to do. So I guess when I think about my role, it's a lot of words in my title, but ultimately I manage projects. Specifically corporate programs that we have. And so I'm aligned to two specific programs and I manage the execution of those contracts. So if you know anything about a nonprofit, we get money from grants, from donors, from people who appreciate our mission or want to invest in the work that we're doing. And that takes on a lot of different forms. But the form that's important to me is companies have decided that they wanted a program of some sorts, or a multi-year agreement is what we call them. Essentially, they're saying, hey, we would like to do this for a long period of time. And there are people assigned to execute whatever it is that they would like to do. So the terms of the contract, essentially, that's what I do. So we have an agreement, it comes with a budget, and it comes with some things that need to be done, whether that's managing a mentorship program, managing internships, managing scholarships, whatever that looks like. We take all those pieces and there's a person that's directly responsible for overseeing it. That person is me. So when you think
yeah.
about my day to day, it looks a little different because depending on the program, the project, it could look different every day. One day I may be triaging student issues. One day I may be on campus recruiting. One day I may just be, having a update meeting with the partners. Who knows? So yeah, just whatever it takes to execute the agreement to the satisfaction of the partner. That's my job.
Thank you for your service. And we're gonna talk a little bit about that, man. Doing what you do, being on the other side of that as a student, both of us have been, and I'll let you jump into that. Like, the words really aren't there, right? Like when you're benefiting from these programs and you see the people who are making this happen, it's
Yeah.
nothing but gratitude. It's always a thank you. It's always a, just not even understanding how much work goes behind that. So what's really cool and what you haven't shared is, what was your affiliation with TMCF before being in this role? Can you give people a little bit of info on
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. So when I came to college, very interesting story there. I'll talk about it a little bit. When I came to college, I met Miss Holloway, and we could spend a year talking about
Forever.
the greatness that is that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Miss Holloway.
Shout out.
She's amazing. Uh, Miss Holloway was or still is currently the campus coordinator for TMCF. So every school, every one of TMCF's member schools has a campus coordinator, and at the time, what they call student ambassadors. That program exists in a different form. They're called Yard Ambassadors and Influencers now. So shout out the Yardies.
Yeah.
But when I came, the current student ambassador was graduating, and Miss Holloway just kind of threw me in there as student ambassador for TMCF. So um, I probably did more than what a normal student ambassador would, but if you know Miss Holloway, you would understand why. But I got a chance to really get to know the organization and really fall in love with the work that they were doing on campus. And I got to be a little mini representative for the work and actually help with recruiting, help out the people that used to come to campus that were, working for TMCF to help connect students with opportunities. And I did that for 4 years. So I did a 5-year college stint. So 4 of my 5 years, I was able to be the student ambassador for TMCF, which is how I got introduced to the work that they do.
Tell TMCF to just add that on to your tenure of like years of service.
I agree.
Tell 'em, hey, y'all heard it from here first from One Fourth Careers podcast, man. Add those years of service from my guy Torrance, man.
Yeah, I want the federal government to add it for my student loan
No,
forgiveness.
for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. We got to start that list and submit that, man.
Exactly.
So being in love with TMCF's mission, working at TMCF, we've gone through that. Tell me a little bit about how it feels working for TMCF now that you're on the other side.
Yeah.
That could also include the spelling, the thought that it's all glamours and roses in terms of working for any nonprofit, but just informing people of what it's like really working with a renowned nonprofit at that has so much support and it does so much in communities. How would you describe a little bit of the working experience that you
Yeah.
go through?
Yeah. I'm appreciative that I don't work for what people would typically consider a nonprofit. And what I mean by that is when you hear nonprofit, a lot of people automatically think like they're struggling, they
Mm,
need help, the CEO is also the treasurer, and
mhm.
you know but for us, that isn't the story. We are doing well. We can always be doing better. So if you're out there and you got some money to give, we will definitely take it. But we are in a great position. um, Now, granted, with that being said, I love my job, but it's still a job nonetheless. And so there's some intricacies about it that we work through, I guess you can say. What I love most is just the fact that I call myself an IC, so individual contributor, meaning
Mhm.
that my work is my own, and that gives me liberty and pleasure that most people don't have in the work that they do. Meaning, like, it's a good and bad thing, but I'm directly responsible for everything that I have going on, and there's no one else that's going to pick up the slack where I may fall. So on one hand, it's really cool because like I can get the work done at my pace. I'm not having to wait for anybody to do anything. I'm able
Mhm.
to just actually move. I'm able to make decisions about, the work that I do and the way that I feel is best to keep my partner happy within the constraints of my agreement. But on the other hand of that is there's nobody else there that is helping me. So, right, you have a normal job where you're like, hey, I'm about to leave. I can just have Susie,
Yeah,
do my work while I'm on vacation. Well, Susie don't live here. And if Torrance go on vacation, then Torrance need to properly plan because all the work that he isn't doing is still going to be there when he gets back.
man.
So it's a balance. And I people always say that, like, I'm a workaholic, or like I don't have work-life balance. I just call it
Mm,
work life because I don't think that there is a balance for me. And that's not going to be okay for everybody, but I love
mhm,
it because I actually enjoy the work that I do. So I don't ever really feel like I'm working,
mm.
which can be dangerous because, like I said, I just be working and I enjoy it. So it's
Man,
okay to me. But
that's
other
great.
people are like, you have no hobbies, you have no life. Every time I turn around, you got your computer and you doing work. So I think it's just a matter of personal opinion and how you
Yeah.
may feel. But for me, it's great.
Hey man, continue to take care of yourself, do what makes you happy, and sometimes it's worth heeding the words of people who are kind of observing things, but there is a balance in kind of what advice you take and things that you do. So, continue to take care of yourself, definitely enjoy the stuff that you do, and hopefully just also be fulfilled wherever else you can be. So, that's really cool because prior to this conversation, I feel like I don't think I've ever met anyone who's been young and has said, like, I really enjoy what I do, so I don't see it as work. And that was something that has always attracted me as an aspiration, as a North Star, just because I don't know if it's a generational difference, but like, older generation sometimes may say, like, hey, you're not going to love what you do. Like, you just need to go to work. And, you know, this younger generation is always trying to shift and complain, and like you almost have like these unrealistic expectations. And I think there's some validity, like, to an extent, right? It's case by case, but hearing you talk about that, I feel like is really special. And I think a lot of people don't experience that. So I'm glad that that's something that you're experiencing. And I'm glad that that's something you've shared for people to hear, that like, it's not impossible. Like,
Yeah,
there is a job, a role out there for you. And don't go into the workforce thinking that there's no way I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing. Like, if I don't enjoy something, I should just sit in it. There's nothing I can do about it, and there's
yeah,
nothing for me, because I've been on like this 7-year journey myself trying to find that thing. And I feel like I finally found it, or gotten a taste of it, which is what we're doing here. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now, next question I have for you is, you really dropped a gem, an experience that I think is worth people really keying in on when you mentioned being an individual contributor. And you kind of hinted at your work experience of like what that's like and why it suits you and it may not suit other people. I have a question around skills.
mm,
Now, I want you to explain some of the skills that you feel are really important to succeed and thrive in your role. But then I'm also interested, since you mentioned being an IC, and you've shared so much experience about what it's been like working at TMCF and working as a senior manager at a nonprofit, what skills have you refined or like acquired being in your role? So just however you explain skilling, with maybe adding some anecdotes of like skills that are important that maybe you've refined in the role, or that you've newly acquired them after graduating.
yeah. That's a good question. In my role, so I guess you contribute my role a lot to the same of what a project manager would do in some
Okay.
sense. So with that, you have to, how do I put this? Um, it's kind of weird. It's going to be kind of funny. You have to know how to work on a team, right? So
Mhm.
I'm an IC. Well, I work with myself, but I also have people around me, right? Whether internally or external. So our partners that we work closely with, that I need to be able to interact with on some level,
Yeah.
whether that's in a capacity to give information to, whether that's in a capacity of getting permission to do something that may teeter the line of what's contractually accessible or what we can actually do. So working on a team for sure. You have to be self-sufficient also. And I think that kind of falls in both. It's a skill that I've refined as well as something that I have to do in my role. Um, Being a IC, right? So at any level, you answer to somebody. So I have a boss. And even when you're the CEO has a boss. They're called the board of directors, right? So
Man.
um, knowing how to report up, and not get so caught in the work that you're doing that you don't report back. So there should always be someone aware of the work that you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, something that I've struggled with and a skill that I've had to refine is I don't want to say bragging on yourself, but bragging on yourself. In every job, even this nonprofit, we have, annual reports, or another way to put that, I guess, is we have our performance review.
Mm-hmm.
And so our performance review is pretty much your chance to say, this is all the good work I've been doing. And that's something that I always struggled with because
Always.
I just be doing stuff like
Always, man.
it's just, I just be doing it, but I have to be able to know how to articulate that because you have to have value. You have to be showing that you have value to the company or the organization that you work for. What are some other little small skills? Obviously, they're little networking. Networking is very, very, very important in this
Mhm.
role. And then last thing I'll say, and it's something that I had to think about a lot. Well, not this one, the next one, but this one, soft skills. So knowing how to communicate, sending emails, little
Mhm.
stuff like that, knowing how to talk to people. And then also there's a level of proficiency that you need in just, I don't want to call them things, but certain things, and that's very vague, but
It's all right.
there are things that you have to just know how to do as it relates to your role. So for me, like
Mm.
it's a lot of project managery type things of
Okay.
being able to keep account of a budget, being able to keep account of just work that you're doing in a
Mhm.
way that makes sense for the role. So like I have to be
Mm.
able to say, um, if the goal was choosing, I don't know, 10 students for a mentorship program, like I have to be able to keep account of what I've done, right? I'm not necessarily tracking my time, but essentially, in a way, tracking my time to say I spent 10 hours doing XYZ. And that's more project managery than it is like the role that I do, but
Yeah.
still, it's a good skill to know and have.
No, for sure. And I think that's really important because what comes to mind is you in any role, in my opinion, there's an element of you having to master your role. Like I think it's a blend of a lot of times individuals may think, what all do I need to have as my skills to get this role? Or what will determine my success in the role is
Yeah.
100% on what I bring. And I think maybe not enough people emphasize that you don't have to have every skill in the world before you enter a role. Like you don't have to come to every job with everything. Like when
Mhm.
Torrance was talking about submitting hours or project managerial tasks and activities, he was relating them to his role because you have a job description, you have strategies and activities that your bosses and TMCF as a whole want you to focus on. So it's almost like if I put you in a role day one, I'm going to at least tell you what you should be doing. And
Yeah.
one part of your job from there is to familiarize yourself with the job that I am providing you with. And you're going to practice becoming proficient and doing it
Yeah.
well. So that's a way of
It's-
like letting people know don't stress over understanding you have to feeling as though you have to know everything and do
Yeah.
everything. A lot of y'all in college, y'all are going to hear on the job training. Like a lot of the
Absolutely.
things that happen will be on the job.
I think it's great that you said that because the first thing it made me think of is something that I love
Mhm.
to tell students, which is, a lot of times we go into jobs and we feel that we're unprepared, or I have a lot of students who, intern with these tech companies, and they're, feeling the imposter syndrome very bad because they're
Yeah.
like, I'm competing with these students that go to Yale and Harvard and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But the first thing that you do in any job, no matter what job you get, especially once you get your first full time job, is training. You spend sometimes your
Yeah.
first month, 2 months, 3 months in training, right? So don't, don't feel pressured to have it all figured out day one. Every job you have, they're going to tell you how they want the job to be done. They're going to tell you what they're looking for. And even if they don't tell you, you have the right to ask, because you need to understand, at the end of the year, when you're doing that performance review, you need to have an understanding of what they were going to grade you on. What was your performance going to be based off of? So what is it that I needed to know how to do? What is it that I needed to learn within the first 30, 60, 90 days of this job for me to start becoming good at it? Now, that does not mean that you won't have to do no work on your own, to try to build those proficiencies, but you don't have to guesstimate what those proficiencies are. And there will be a moment of time where you're learning. Even executives, right? Like, we're going through an executive change with one of my partners, and the old executive is still there because she is there to help the woman that's coming in learn the intricacies about the company, learn the intricacies about the role that she's taking on. And it's not because obviously the new lady, she's proficient. They hired her. I mean, she has the history, she has the background, but she doesn't know how they do it in their company. And so that's what she has to learn. Right. And then she can take that learning and start making it into what she wants. But in the meantime, right now, she has to get an understanding of this company, their culture, and how they see the role, because ultimately that's how she's going to be measured and judged, based on what they feel, not how she's always done it in the past.
Amazing. See, look, we're going on a rant, guys. At this point, we're not even talking about the role of being a senior manager at TMCF as much, but hopefully what you all have been able to pull from what we've talked about just for these past few minutes is, if you're an undergrad and you're transitioning to a new role, like your first full-time role or internship or whatever, if you're a working age adult and you're getting a promo or you're exiting a company to do something adjacent or catacorner or whatever the case may be, this goes all the way up through the most senior level at organizations of, you're going to have a job description and responsibilities and things like that. You don't have to figure it all out by yourself. That's the concise way to say it. You don't have to figure it all out. Or you don't have to come with everything to a role, and there's going to be a level of on-the-job training. So now so I don't forget, I wanted to touch on what you were talking about, of something that you were continuing to improve as a skill of your own, which is being able to highlight and, do justice for talking about what you have accomplished, things that you're working on. This is extremely important. One, pausing to say, I feel like as long as I've known you, you've been that way. And that for anyone who knows Torrance or people who don't know Torrance is a guy where just always getting stuff done. And for those who understand what it takes to get things done in general in a role, there are so many skills needed to do that. So much fearlessness needed to just say, hey, I'll pick up any challenge and get things done. A level of humility of being able to say, if I don't know how to do it, I'll say that, or I'll try to go figure it out. Being really resourceful. This is just a glimpse of Torrance's skill set, his track record and brand and things of that nature. So, I, brother, encourage you to continue to get better at talking about what you do. And, I think something that helped me, or something that I feel like highlights and helps people who want to get better at that, is your exposure to maybe understanding that you're not normal. Like watching other people.
That's a good way to put it.
Like watching other people, seeing the way other people attack issues, or just like being able to gauge your proficiency, relative to others, that sometimes can highlight, oh, I didn't realize this was even a feat worth mentioning. Like, you did this, you stood up this whole project, you think it's nothing, but that's executive level almost. That's something that will be scaled into, a higher role. So I kind of wanted to say all that to say kudos to you, brother. I know you're doing amazing work at TMCF. Appreciate the work you're doing, and keep getting better at that, because that's important, and you do a lot of good stuff.
And just to double click on it a little bit, it goes back to the value piece. You have to know how to articulate your value. And so for me, like I said, I enjoy my job. I just do my work, or I'm just working. Miss Holloway calls me crazy. She's just as crazy, but that's it's something that we share, and that we just we just get stuff done, and we don't need no one to come behind. I don't need somebody to come behind me and say,
You don't
"Oh
need all
wow,
that
you're
rah
so
rah.
great." Yeah, no, I don't need that. Like I've already moved on. Like
There
it's
you go.
done. Let's on to the next thing.
For
But
sure.
in a corporate role, like, or really any company or anywhere that you're getting paid, you have to be able to tell the people what you did to justify your value, justify why they're paying you whatever it is that they're paying you, or
Because guess
justify why
what?
they need you.
Because you're gonna be working with people who don't have that issue at all. So
Hmm.
imagine that you're killing it and you're doing an amazing job, but you're not selling yourself. You're
And
not
no one
talking about what
knows.
you've accomplished. But then you wonder why XYZ person getting all these promos and things of that nature. And
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of conversation around people who say, well, I just would thought my good work would speak for itself. And in some cases, maybe,
You
but
got to speak for your good work.
that's not a risk you want to take, man. It's not a risk you want to take. You have to highlight what you do. And if you need help with that, find a mentor, find someone.
Hmm.
Again, you do not have to be perfect. You don't have to figure it all out. Just stay in tune with yourself, and do frequent assessments of where you are with some of these skills. And if you're watching this episode, this is a part of hopefully making yourself better or wanting to consume content that can hopefully pour into your life. So I want to transition from that. Definitely want to spend that time talking about that really priceless information that I didn't even know at a certain point in my career, because I think we've all picked it up at on our own pace and stuff. So hopefully people watching this are on the younger side, or it's never too late no matter where you are in your journey. I want to talk about being a program manager as a way to think about your role. What kind of backgrounds do people come from in that role? Is it cookie cutter? Is it diverse? How would you describe the backgrounds of folks in that role?
Yeah, I think it's pretty diverse. So, like I said, at the core of my job, I'm just a project manager, and that can go upwards. So, like, there's levels. So, you have a project manager. That person focuses on a particular project. You have program managers who may oversee multiple projects within a program, and then you have portfolio managers. I'm getting into training right now.
Okay.
But portfolio managers, they can oversee multiple projects or programs. Saying all that, it's pretty easy, and that's just because in every industry there are people who manage projects, right?
Yeah.
So a project is quite simply just having something that needed to be done by a certain time, right? So a lot of people can look at their roles as project managers
Yeah.
if you would like to. And like I said, it's across every industry. You can be a technical program manager or project manager where you're, doing more techie type projects. You can be a HR project manager, digital transformation,
Hmm.
whatever you want to name it, it can be. So I don't think that
Yeah.
there's a particular skill set. I would almost argue that it's good to have a diverse background because you bring a different
Mhm.
perspective. Obviously, there's some soft skills that, or I don't want to call them soft skills because they're not soft, but there are some things that you need to know how to do or have some level of knowledge on, like
Yep.
budgeting, like managing resources,
Hmm.
which can be people, things, whatever that go along with the job. But I definitely think having a diverse background can be helpful in the role.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that is super important. So I'm also curious about your career journey as a whole, wanting to transition as we kind of talk about the weeds and the details. Want to take a step back, high level, introduce a new segment. So for people who have seen some of the other episodes, I might have hinted at the fact that I'm from the South, so I'm from Mississippi. Your boy like to eat. If y'all ever hear about a 3-piece, a 2-piece, or whatever it is, man, like chicken, fish, whatever it is, I kind of want to, have a fun moment where we use that 3-piece concept. And I need you to give me a 3-piece about your career. I need you to give me 3 words to describe your career journey thus far.
Ooh, describing my career journey thus far. Um, I'm going to go with the first word being faith.
Okay.
Um, the second word that I would use to describe my career journey thus far uh, would be hmm, I think the second word is going to be timing.
Okay.
And the third one would be uh joy.
Let's go.
All right. And I'll explain. Faith. So I graduated college and I mean I had an idea, like, or at least what I thought I wanted to do, I didn't end up doing. But I no, let me change that. What I thought I wanted to do, I ended up hating. Um uh and so, I I had my direction,
Mhm.
and I think I needed direction from somebody that was a little more versed in what was going on in my life than I was, and
Mm.
uh, that was Jesus. So definitely, I would say faith. Having my plan, it didn't work, so I had to go to him for his,
Man, I
and
swear.
that was great. Timing. I when I graduated college, I started a job. I did consulting for 6 months. I have nothing against consulting. I wouldn't mind doing it, and in some sense, I kind of sort of do in a roundabout way. I didn't like the industry that I was doing consulting in. I was working for a company that consulted in with utility companies, and it was terrible. Hated it because
Mhm.
going back to the point of project managers in every role, right? They
Yeah.
were they were project managers working on the project. I was in the PMO office actually, and that's project management office.
Mhm.
But the industry was so boring that like it was nothing about the same skills that I use in my job now. I used then, but I felt like I was dying. Just it was terrible. Uh, so,
Yeah.
I had to, take the time to find what became the perfect opportunity, which for me was TMCF, or is, I would say,
Mhm.
TMCF. So faith and timing kind of go together. And joy, I think that's where I am now. Um, I'm happy, I'm content in the work that I'm doing and the life that I get to live because of the work that I do. And then if I can add a side of mashed potatoes to your three-piece combo,
Please.
um, it would be a double, actually, avoiding complacency. I think because I'm an anomaly, right? You don't find many people who at my age or at the level of career that I am in saying that they enjoy their job as much as I say that I enjoy mine.
Mhm.
So with that, I have to force myself to avoid not being complacent in my work because I enjoy it so much that it's easy for me to just say that I'll do it forever.
Okay.
Um, and I got advice when I first started this job by a great man. His name is Scott Lilly. And he told me, don't get stuck. Um, and his advice was just more so based on the fact that I work in diversity space, right? And, our long hope is that, I can do it forever. But the reality of the situation is our world is changing, A, and B, you don't want to do something so long that you don't know how to do anything else. And so,
Yeah.
within my role in this overall space, working in diversity space, I love it and I could do it forever, but I want to make sure that I'm also building other skills to where if I want to pivot or I need to pivot, I have the skills to do so. And so, faith, time, and joy, and avoiding complacency.
Man, that couldn't have gone any better. To be honest, man, I feel like we need to drop the mic on that one, brother. Man, you gave a lot of goodness there, and I think those are some really really wise words that help me, and I'm sure will help so many other people. So with that, man, this was a joy. I feel like I've been saying the same thing for people who have been tuning in, like been saying the same thing every episode, but this truly is a joy to be doing this, to be talking to you, but also kind of giving a platform for people to hear what you have to say because you've had an amazing career so far, ever since I've known you, it's been about giving and pouring into others in so many different ways. And I think that that is one of many reasons why you are seeing the fruits of your labor, and you'll continue to do that. So definitely continue to not stay complacent, continue being your same person, being the same person that you are. And, I'm excited for us to do this again, or I'm excited for me to at least see kind of where your career takes you. I might need a job, like you might have to hire me in the future when you got your own enterprise and business is booming, man. Like I would love to work for a person like you, brother. So
appreciate it. I'm sure I'll be working for you first. We'll see why.
oh man, yeah, brother. Well, we'll see, man. We'll definitely be talking soon. I appreciate you, man. I love you, my guy. And you stay safe, bro.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Appreciate you, man. All right, guys. I really appreciate y'all stopping by once again. Like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff, man. Just show me love. I appreciate y'all making it this far into the episode. Another very special guest. Every single person who I've been bringing on, and probably who I plan on bringing on in the future, especially the near future. These are people who I am not putting people in front of you guys who don't have incredible resumes, incredible people at their core, first and foremost, just good people doing really good things. And I think it's really helpful to see people who look like us, to see people who are just productive citizens who give and who are looking to grow. So I hope that the information that Torrance left you with contributed to your life in some way, shape, or fashion. If you know someone who needs to hear some of it, hey, go ahead and share it. But again, appreciate the love. I leave you guys with stay happy, stay blessed. Peace.